Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Do you ever feel frustrated that you're not getting what you want in life? Do you blame yourself? Well, if you'd like to get more of what you do want in life, stay tuned because I am thrilled to introduce to you my mentor, John Lee, best-selling author, first known for The Flying Boy and Growing Yourself Back Up, about dealing with emotional regression, and his latest book entitled The Half-Lived Life, Overcoming Passivity and Rediscovering Your Authentic Self. Welcome, John Lee.
Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since we've talked, John. You've been on WHPC before, and I'm so glad you're able to come back. It's great. And your book, The Half-Lived Life, wow. And I just want to say that you talk a lot about kind of undiscovered or unrealized passivity in men, in males. Right. And I think that this is a very important topic that people do not consider. And I am teaching and have been teaching for a long time assertiveness training. And I teach assertiveness training for women in business. And then I teach a general assertiveness training for managers. Mm-hmm. And I was always so struck that so many of the men were passive, coming from a place of passivity, because one would think the stereotype is women are coming from passivity to learn, and men are coming from aggressiveness to learn assertiveness. Uh-huh. I was really, really struck by that, and here you are writing on it. Mm-hmm. So tell us what you mean by the half-lived life, because it's not only about just males, it's general, and then you address males. So tell us about you, what prompted you.
Well, it's I start with a client that I had yesterday. He came to because he read the book, The Half-Lived Life. And he said, John, I had no idea, but I became passive in my marriage. Mm-hmm. And I said, so what form did that take? And he said, well, my mother-in-law moved in with us and has been there for 3 years. And I haven't wanted her there a day. And now it's been 3 years, and it is one of the major causes he and his wife are getting a divorce, because so much friction. But the key here was, John, I didn't know I was passive. So one of the things I teach about passivity is almost no one is completely passive in every area of their life. Like the guy that I'm speaking of, business, corporate, hot shot, plenty of money, but when he would come home, nothing to say.
Yes. Yeah.
So about maybe 10 years ago, I had this surgeon as a client, and one day he said, John, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm half the doctor I could be, I'm half the father I could be, I'm half the friend I can be.
Wow.
And he kept listing these things that he said, I'm half. After he finished, I said, it sounds like you're living a half-lived life.
Yeah, beautiful. Could write a poem on that one.
And there
Yes.
it is. And he said yes. And then as soon as I said that, I thought, now, before I teach or write, I've got to do what I've always done in my career. I got to look at the areas of my life that I'm passive in. Not just up there, but how am I still acting in a passive way? And the answer was around finances, relationships. I was still passive. Now, let me give the audience a definition for passivity that hopefully will cause some discussion here. Passivity is the compulsion to pursue the opposite of what we say we want. Passivity is the compulsion or the addiction to pursue the opposite of what we say we want. And see, one of the reasons why I wrote this book is because, you know, as a counselor, therapist of 35 years, I might say to a woman or a man client, what is it you really want? And they'll proceed to tell me. A woman might say, oh, I want a man who's really into personal growth and working on himself, maybe has done some men's work and likes to read and be spiritual. And I'd say, is that the way your current husband is? Not at all. Not at all. So you're saying you want this, but your action says, no, you don't. You want it. See? So passivity, working with passivity, is an attempt to bring people out of their illusions and fantasies about what they want and deal with what they have and go from there.
So, if I may say, is this for people in their entire lives or as we get older? And the reason I'm asking is that many people would say they want creative expression. Not everybody, of course.
Yeah, no.
Of course, but they want either not to work at all or to work in a very meaningful job. Right. And there is so much scut labor needed in our world. And we need to pay the bills. And I think of my life in a way in two parts. You know, the first part to conform, to do what the establishment wanted so I could pay my bills. And now I feel I have a lot more choice. So can we start at the beginning? Can we start before college, say, and say, oh, I want this, but then I need a day job?
Well, you know, one of the things about cliches, we use cliches all the time, but one of the reasons why cliches are used is because they're true. Every cliche, I won't go through the list, has an element of truth in it. And so to clarify, like one person might be creative as hell. They're just producing art and whatever, let's say in that realm, but they're passive in their parenting style.
Right.
Or they're great husbands and wives, but they're passive in their marriage.
Right.
See, that's the thing that I wanted to make clear. Almost none of my clients or the people I talk about in this book were passive 100%. Just in these various areas. So I'm going to turn the interview back on you.
Yeah, good.
What area can you identify that you still wrestle to some degree with passivity?
Compliant, complacent.
Now, that's something I want to interrupt you with right there.
Yeah.
Reasons why I wrote this book on passivity.
Good.
First of all, there has been no book on passivity written.
Right.
Except mine. And various things like self-psychology, Freudian psychology, if passivity is mentioned, it's mentioned in 3 sentences.
Yeah.
And in this book the whole book deals with it. So most people, even psychologists and psychotherapists, they will call their clients, not to their face, lazy, procrastinating.
Yeah.
What's some of the other words that we'll say? Lazy, procrastinating. Anyway, there's 3 or 4 words.
Yeah.
What that I made clear is this is a historical problem that most people have in some area or their life. And what we, or as I identify as lazy or a procrastinator, somebody who keeps putting things off, really has this psychological issue called passivity.
I already find this very helpful, John. I am thinking about one particular client, male in a coupleship, who he's saying, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Yes, I procrastinate. Yes, I'm lazy. And this helps me with a whole reframe for him to challenge him on really being passive. Yes, beautiful. Yeah,
see, people will identify themselves as, well, I don't know, there's just something wrong with me. I want to do these other things, but I don't.
Right.
I must be lazy. I must,
Yeah.
must be a procrastinator. And I go, you might be, but you also might fall under the definition of passivity. Let me just, for women, that happens.
Yes.
Okay? Woman will say in my session or at a workshop, I'll say, what do you want? And they'll say, oh, I want to go back to my journaling and back to my artwork and I want to travel more. And I'll go, no, you don't. And this hits them right between the eyes as if I'm trying to argue with them. And they say, well, why are you saying I don't want that? The least psychological answer I can come up with is because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You're just not doing it. And then the answers for why will be, I can't afford it. We're living on a fixed income. I got to keep my job. And one of the things personal growth for me has always been about is finding our passion, not just our problems. Our purpose and not just our procrastination either.
Right.
And most really good therapists in therapy, which you are among those, if you just deal with the problem that they have, don't simultaneously. One of the things I've said over the years, Duffy, somebody will come in and say, oh man, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I've been traumatized. And I'll say, okay, so let's get to work on that. And I'll say, now tell me what you do that you're passionate about. And the answer will be nothing.
Right.
And so I'll say, so you're going to come see me for 50 minutes a week, and the other 40, 50, 60 hours a week, you're going to be doing stuff that you don't want to be doing, and you wonder why you're not healing faster. Go hand in glove.
Mm-hmm.
But people go, I come to therapy once a week. I go to 12-step program once a week. But I go and work for this terrible, terrible company.
Yeah.
Times 40, 50. And I go, so you think those 2 hours are going to offset that injury? And
yeah.
The answer is it's not.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, offset the terrible job. And then, of course, here we are still in lockdown, and with the economy so god awful, people are so struggling that we have this whole movement of fanatical people, so miserable, so unhappy, so disenfranchised. And they found a passion, didn't they?
Yes.
John, they found
beautifully
passion.
said.
Yes.
My God, I never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's right.
Yeah.
Unemployed, a lot of them, or work jobs that they don't like.
Right.
And that's brilliant. That's just
Thank you.
That's just brilliant.
Well, I know people who have been doing research in the QAnon are reporting that they're very friendly with each other, and they feel a sense of camaraderie and community. There is a new book just out. I've forgotten the author's name, but it's called The Lonely Century.
Wow.
The Lonely Century. So you have all of the difficulties. Now you add only digital contact. And people are so hungry for real contact, which you are such an expert on. So I think some people would prefer a crappy job rather than no job if they can put food on the table. So this is tough. That's why I asked initially about maybe later on in life we feel more of a sense of choice. I don't know.
Well, that's generally going to happen the older you get to some degree. Carl Jung, and I'm paraphrasing here, Carl Jung said, if the second half of your life looks too much like the first half of your life,
beautiful,
you're doing something wrong.
Beautiful. Yeah, and Carl Jung also talked about different adulthoods. We spend the first part of our lives learning and the second part of our lives unlearning.
That's right.
Yeah.
He said the first half of life is to develop an ego. The second half of life is to abolish it.
Yes. Right. And then, of course, the difference.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, the difference between the healthy and the unhealthy ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people will take a job if they can at 25.
Right.
And this is especially true of our parents' generation and before.
Yeah.
They take that job at 20, 25 with the goal, one of the goals being to retire at 65 from that job that they started at 25.
Right.
And that was the way the system worked. If you're a businessman or you work in a factory, you get you a good job.
Yeah, then you can retire, get the watch.
I remember I was teaching at University of Alabama, and my dad, who is a machinist and a tool and die maker, and we were together one day, and he said, "So how much money do you make teaching college?" Now, this was back in 75.
Yeah.
Not very much. I said maybe 16,000 a year.
Yeah.
John, why don't you quit that? Come to work with me at the plant, and in no time at all, you'll be making 35,000.
Right.
I said, yeah, but Dad, here's the difference. I love teaching,
Yeah.
and I would hate working in the factory. So I stay in teaching, not because of the money, because of the love. And he said to me, where did you ever get the idea you were supposed to love what you do?
Yeah.
And I said, from you. And he said, you couldn't have gotten it from me because I hated every damn day I ever went to work. And I said, that's right. I got it from you. I swore I would never live that life.
So he served as a negative role model for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. But he
Wow.
he retired, got a good pension, got more in savings than I do.
I hear you. And you have a beautiful life, John, where you grow yourself and you share your growth with others, and you have helped me personally. That's why I identify you as my mentor. And Spence, my husband, adores you, absolutely adores you. And what you have done, especially for men, is just so awesome. The what you created, peer, primary, emotional energy recovery, and so the idea. We only have a couple of minutes left for this show, but the good news, everyone, is that John Lee is coming back next week for part 2 on the half-lived life. So the idea of living authentically. I have helped clients who have to hold on to their day job while they are finding what else they can do or find meaning in whatever they do, like Viktor Frankl taught us in A Man's Search for Himself. So authenticity, you can tell the truth about not liking your work, but you have to pay the bills too. I mean, there's a practical aspect here, as well as how can you create meaning in your life, no matter where you are or what you're doing.
But now that you mentioned Viktor Frankl, let me just say that there's several solutions. I don't know if we have time. Maybe we'll go into it next time.
Yeah.
One solution to passivity that all the people who wrote those paragraphs on it all agreed that anger work was one of the ways to get out of passivity.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, the other one, which I'm not competent to talk about, even though I do talk about, is spirituality.
Yes.
See, there's something, I'll just leave it this way. When you commit to an authentic life, to following your passion, or as Joseph Campbell said, following your bliss.
Yes.
Something happens in the world where doors start opening, people come forth, and before you know it, you're going, wow, now I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. And I know how it happened.
Yes.
Because last year I was just hunkering down paying the bills.
Yep.
You know what? I've never had a client or a workshop participant say, you know what, John, I gave up the meaningless job I had, and now I've got the best job, the best coworkers, the best employment that I ever had. And the answer was trust, faith, hope, and being open to these forces that will come to you.
Yes.
When you're ready.
Beautiful. I just met someone. I met her on Zoom at the Vitality Society, which is a group for people 60 and over, exercise plus enrichment. And so we actually met in person outside, Whole Foods, 6 feet apart, comparing our lives, our life stories, what we had in common. And she said, I just said yes to everything. I'm just a yes person in that good sense of the term. She was really, really an artist, and she figured out all kinds of ways to be an artist and earn money. And she became a graphic designer, and now she's back to just teaching art. So that idea of serendipity, of saying yes to something new. Carl Rogers talked about life as an amoeba. You know, the amoeba just kind of oozes its foot forward and then bumps into something and then oozes its foot in the other way. I remember doing my master's thesis on how people choose careers, and there wasn't a choice. It was they basically followed in their parents' footsteps. It just kind of oozed in. So there's oozing and there's oozing. You know, it really depends on so much of, am I passive or am I assertive? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And the biggest thing to help folks, at least I'll give this before we go. The biggest thing to help folks move out of passivity, move into authenticity, is to surround themselves as best as they can with people of like mind. And are trying to do the same thing or actually having done it.
Right. Yeah. Finding good people or people that you feel comfortable with who are positive for you.
And
so
very often it's not your parents either, by the way.
Oh boy, is that true?
Yeah.
So I want everyone to know again that I am interviewing the best-selling author John Lee, who wrote The Flying Boy, Growing Yourself Back Up, and his latest book is called The Half-Lived Life, Overcoming Passivity and Rediscovering Your Authentic Self, which you can get anywhere, right, John Lee?
Yes, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, and if anybody would like your coaching or counseling, can they do that as well?
Yeah, they can go to my website at johnleebooks.com. I have a list of services and my credentials.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, John Lee, thank you so much. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.